welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we're going to invite you to join us in a new program. It's called Adopt an Airman, and here to introduce it is Bruce Sturk with the City and Senior Airman Jarrett Ware. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello.
This is a cool idea, and it's something that's been informally going on, I think, for a while. But Bruce, describe, this is a kind of a formal launch of a new program.
All right, so today we're actually officially kicking off this program. It's called Welcome Home to Hampton, Adopt an Airman. It's kind of grown from other activities with other Air Force installations. In fact, the military academies like West Point or the Air Force Academy, they adopt the first year cadets that attend those service academies. But in this case, we're really wanting to reach out and bring airmen, first-term airmen, those airmen that are between 18 and 20 years old, that it's their first assignment away from home, if you will, to a new location, an area here like in Hampton, where they're on the installation, living in the dormitory, working on the installation, eating on the installation. So trying to bring them into the community and marry them up, if you will, or pair them up with host families in the community, so they can get a sense of what it's like living in Hampton, and also build relationships with those host families. So very exciting. We're partnering with the Hampton Military Affairs Committee, Langley Civic Leaders Association, Langley Air Force Base, and the City of Hampton. Our neighborhood commissioners are going to be helping us identify those host families.
That sounds great. And Jarrett, you're here to talk about it because you've done this before. I mean,
yes, ma'am.
You already are a senior airman. You've been through that first couple of rough years, and you opened your home.
Yes, ma'am. I first started off about a few years ago when I first got here, because I noticed there was a lot of airmen around the holiday time who didn't have a home. They weren't going back home for the holidays. So I just wanted to open up my home to them and give them a chance to come and have Thanksgiving, have dinner with me and my family.
So how did that work out? How many people did you have? What was it like for your family?
We really enjoyed it. It was a good time. We had about 11 or 12 airmen show up, and I knew some of the airmen from working with them. Some of the airmen were strangers that I worked with them, but I didn't know them that well. However, the greatest experience that I got is that they might have shown up to my home as strangers, but we left feeling as friends and feeling like family.
And what was it like? Okay, you kind of knew them and you lived the Air Force life. You have kids, you have a wife. How did that combination of your military life and your private life, how did that work out?
It was a nice mix. The Air Force preaches all the time of the whole airman concept. We try to bring everyone in, and just bringing my family to meet some of my coworkers really helped us form a stronger bond. I felt like I knew them more, I could trust them more, I could share more things with them, and it made things at work flow a little bit more smoothly. And
the kids, how did they react to having a bunch of strangers at the beginning, at least, of the meal, but probably friends by the end of the meal?
My kids, they had a blast. At first they were nervous meeting everyone, but like by the end of the meal, it was like they had 7 or 8 more uncles and aunts to play with and see.
See, I think, you know, we want people on base to be a lot more involved in Hampton, to see all the free attractions, the things we have, and open our homes. I mean, I think that's a great idea, to expand the idea of family and friends.
Yes, ma'am.
So how did you feel? Let me take you back. It's not that many years, but it probably feels like it to you. Your first year, you are stationed somewhere where your parents aren't. You're 18 years old. What is that like?
It's a very rough experience. For me, it was one of my first times just being away from my family, being off on my own, and I really didn't understand how to handle it. But at the time, I was able to just come together with some other friends that I had in the dorms, and we didn't go to anyone's home in particular, but we just had a small Thanksgiving dinner meal together. And it helped us make it through the time. It just bonded us a little bit closer together.
Okay, and you come from a military family. You moved around a lot. You knew what you were signing up for. Mm-hmm. I have to believe that for people 18 and new to the military, who've maybe lived one place their whole lives, and suddenly they're somewhere else, it's even harder.
Yes, ma'am. It's a huge shock to just, if you're used to big family dinners and being able to see your parents whenever you want or your brothers and sisters whenever you want to. It's hard to make it through those holiday seasons by yourself.
So we're going to help, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Bruce, how do we do that? How do we sign up? How do we get people involved?
Right. So today, as I said, we officially kick off the Welcome Home to Hampton Adopt an Airman program. There'll be application or questionnaire forms that will be on the city website. We're also going to put them out through the school system, through the Military Affairs Committee meetings that they have, through Langley Civic Leaders Association, their website. And so it's just kind of initially an outreach through the different websites that those entities have. If anyone's interested, they can contact me in the city manager's office, call directly, and we can get a questionnaire form for you. The 30th of October, we're going to sit down with the Langley team and the city team, and we'll pair those host with the airmen, and then on the 16th of November, we're having a reception out at Langley Air Force Base where we're going to introduce the airmen to their host families. So that's kind of the first initial stages of how we're putting the program together, but excited, as you mentioned, hoping that the airmen will feel welcome in the community, feel welcome by being able to participate with a family, a host, and get to see some things and get taken off the base and kind of brought into a family setting so they can enjoy a meal or a movie or a sporting event or whatever may be of interest to those folks.
And this is bigger than the informal Thanksgiving program that's existed for a while, because you're really looking for a sort of a year-long commitment, maybe not super deep commitment, but some sort of familiarity that goes beyond one holiday.
I think so. I think it'll be dependent upon the airmen and the families and how they want to establish that relationship. But yeah, I think we're not just looking at a Thanksgiving or a holiday event, but a year-long or a lifelong in some cases. I know there's been testimonials from airmen that have been adopted by families at other installations where 20 years later they're still in contact with that family that was at an installation when they were first, introduced in the Air Force, for example. So.
Well, and I think that commitment is kind of a cool thing too, because you get the holidays are rough. Just anyone who's away from family, who whatever holidays it is you support, whatever's the the thing that touches your heart, that's tough. But then you get to barbecues in the summer or Peninsula Pilots baseball games or whatever it is. There's a lot to do in Hampton, but it's a scary thing to step off the base and do these things by yourself, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Or to even know what there is to do.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest connections that I personally made was I met my best friend the first year that I was in the Air Force, and he just happened to show up at the Thanksgiving dinner that me and the other airmen were having. We've been friends for a little over 8 years now. I just spoke to him maybe an hour or so before this interview, and he's stationed out in Japan currently. But it's the connections that I made during these times that really have helped me the most.
That sounds wonderful. And Bruce, on the other side, how do the families feel when they participate in something like
Right.
this?
I can tell you from my experience as a family. I was Air Force as well, and we have over the years adopted airmen and brought them into our family and at different times, different events, and they really feel an opportunity to just learn about the young people that they get a chance to meet and learn about their role in the Air Force and what they do and why they serve our country as airmen. And so I think it's a two-way kind of relationship building, and it's an experience for them too to get a better insight as to what young men and women do when they wear the uniform, and in this case airmen, because some of that is just kind of they're behind the fence, if you will, and bringing them out into the community to share their experiences and talk about what they do to serve. It's a two-way relationship, and you really gain a lot of insights and appreciations that you might not have ordinarily if you hadn't had the opportunity to adopt an airman in this case. So.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, I think you're going to get too many applications. Is that possible?
Well, we're looking at starting somewhere between 10 host families and 10 airmen. Knowing the numbers out at Langley, I've been told there's upwards of 700 airmen that live on the installation in dormitories out there. So, I think there'll be an opportunity to match as many as we can, as many are willing and want to, get on board with this kind of a program. So we'll see. We're going to kind of crawl, walk, run initially, but over time we'll probably have maybe a bank of parents or families that want to be adoptive, and maybe a bank of airmen, and we'll just continue to work the program as it initially kicks off. So.
Well, I imagine there's a little bit of trepidation on each side. I mean, as a single airman, you're going into the home of someone you've never met. Families are all very, very different. You don't quite know what you're going to get. And the same thing with a family. You know, you're opening up your doors. So if we can ease that fear for people.
All right.
The biggest thing is, you know, people are always different, but even though we're different, we can always share some similarities. And we can learn from each other. And one of the best or easiest ways that I found is just to sit down and share a meal with that person. So like when they first show up, they might arrive as strangers, but you'll have plenty of times to talk and get to know them a little bit better, so that you will form a bond and have some fellowship with them. They won't feel like strangers once they leave your home.
And isn't that what we all want, is that human interconnectedness, that sense of community, that tie to one another and understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing that the families will be able to identify, they can, as well as the airmen, they can go as more than one. So a family can say, we'd like to have 2 airmen. The airmen can say, we'd really like to go as a pair.
Yeah,
and the airman binocular, it's kind of the wingman concept. So the wingman and may be adopted into the family as well. So it just doesn't have to be one airman with one family. It can be a couple of airmen. It could be more than
that gives you a little more sense of comfort and transportation and all that good stuff that would help, I think, ease the hurdles.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else that I've forgotten to ask you about that you guys want to mention?
I just say, just give it a shot. You never know who's out there. You never know what connections that you might be able to make. You might make a lifelong friend or another lifelong connection. And at the end of the day, you'll reach out and touch someone's heart and help them through the holiday season. Someone who's serving our country, someone who's already giving and contributing. And, you know, so those of us might want to give back. And a lot of people don't know how. So it's the perfect opportunity. Well, thank you, Jarrett, for coming by, and thank you, Bruce.
Sure, thank you, thank you.
And we're going to urge you to go on to hampton.gov and find the application and consider being one of these host families. Thanks for watching.